A personality disorder is not going away, and
No.
it's intense.
No.
And all the relationships involved with that person
Exactly.
are difficult.
Yeah.
Is it somebody close to you?
Very. Yeah.
Like immediate family?
Yeah.
Can you tell me who? Hi friends, it's Kara. Welcome back to Really Famous. Today I have a very special talk for you with Reid Scott from Veep and the marvelous Mrs. Maisel. We are hitting the topic of mental health big time. I'm going to share all kinds of therapy secrets from my perspective as a therapist, and Reid is going to open up about his own experiences in therapy. Plus he's going to drop a few of his own family secrets. So let's do it. A narcissist, a real true narcissist, is never going to change.
Okay.
What
can you give me like a hard and fast definition, because it gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I guarantee someone out there has referred to me as a narcissist because I was having a bad day and like whatever. But how do you recognize one beyond someone who's vain? Because I don't think vanity is necessarily narcissism.
But that's how people throw it around.
Right. Or even just like self-involvement isn't necessarily narcissism.
Yeah. So a narcissist really will have that grandiosity that is, they believe fully that the world revolves around them. Like it's not just somebody who, like, everybody thinks that everybody's is paying more attention to them than they really are anyway. And this is a non-narcissistic type of person. Like, we all think everybody's always like judging what we look like or what we're wearing, how we're doing, if we're doing a good job at acting or whatever.
That's just being self-conscious.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's not, but that's being self-conscious, but it's kind of that without the self-consciousness on that level of you perceive the world as revolving around you. And so you have to feed that all the time. So your relationships they're all going to be about you. Your relationships, if as a narcissist, are going to be only from your perspective and feeding you and fueling you. So that is not the definition of a narcissist. And I really just want to whip my phone out so that I can give the actual proper answer. I'm going to do it.
Sure.
Because it's doing a disservice if I don't.
To all those narcissists out there.
Okay, keep talking while I look it up.
Okay, so
it's narcissistic personality disorder, by the way. And one other thing I will say about the personality disorder.
I have one in my family, so yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
So so a personality disorder, they're like these two, there's axis 1 and axis 2. They're different types of disorders, let's call them mental health disorders. So personality disorders are typically not covered by insurance.
No, it's borderline as well.
Well, borderline. You have somebody who's borderline in your family?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
That's a lot. A personality disorder is not going away. And it's intense.
No.
And all the relationships involved with that person are difficult.
Yeah.
Is it somebody close to you?
Very. Yeah.
Like immediate family?
Yeah.
Can you tell me who?
It's my mom.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so when did you find out?
Oh God. I mean, it's weird. Like in retrospect, I think, first of all, I'll say children, and I'm learning this as a parent now, children are so much more perceptive than we give them credit for. And not just meaning sort of like, oh wow, they're almost as perceptive as an adult. No, I think they have a perception that transcends that of adults because they haven't been conditioned as much as we have by society, by their own parents, what have you. It's just this natural gut instinct. It's like it goes to our reptilian brain. They can sense good, bad, danger, safety, whatever. So looking back, I think I knew that something was wrong from the time I was probably like 4, but didn't know what it was. And then slowly over the next 30 years, convinced myself it's like, that's normal. That's just sort of like family. But as far as like an actual diagnosis, that came around, God, I want to say about maybe 15, 16 years ago. And it was illuminating.
Yeah, so that was helpful, right?
Oh man, I remember like we got a book, How to Not Walk on Eggshells or Walking on Eggshells about it. Like, it's basically 4 family members of someone that has borderline personality disorder. And it was like reading a diary. It was incredible. It listed everything that all of the other members of my family have been doing, to deal with, my mom, but also like how we cope as family members and specifically as children of someone with borderline. And it blew me away. I'd never heard of it before. I'd never heard of, even 15, 16 years ago, when the diagnosis came out, the closest thing to that I had ever heard of was bipolar.
Right. Oh, it's so different.
And it is.
But you could have both.
And you can. Mm-hmm. And there's things about it sort of like, well, you can see how one might conflate one with the other because there's some similarities here and there. But it was sort of like, well, she's not bipolar. So I don't know what this is. Maybe she's just crazy. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And once we sort of got that diagnosis, it was like, oh, wow. Now, that diagnosis has done more for the family members than it has for my mother. So
is she aware of it?
Yes and no.
But she doesn't believe it?
I don't think she believes it. At first, she really leaned into it, and it was almost like she was thankful to have this thing. But I'm realizing now it's like it was thankful, sort of like, great, now all of you know how to treat me. Not now I know what sort of help to seek out and what needs to be done, so that
makes sense.
So that you guys don't get all this collateral damage. So it's been very, challenging, to say the least.
I think the most challenging. So I will tell you this, that I had a personal interaction, stretched out a little bit, still condensed relatively, with somebody who, so she would, be careful about what I say here. She was great at first, and I really liked her a lot. And then some weird things, like she would perceive things oddly to me. And I was like, what is going on with her? And then I would see myself having these reactions to her that felt weird to me, just like the way I thought about things after I had interacted with her. Mm-hmm. And then coincidentally, I had remembered that like a few weeks before I was taking one of these classes, and it was on borderline personality disorder. And I was like, oh my gosh, one of the things that this guy said, the teacher said, was when you start feeling things viscerally and you want to give the patient to somebody else, you do not want this patient and you're not sure why, but you just want to refer the patient to a different therapist, that's a good sign that your patient has borderline personality disorder. Yeah. And that's the kind of feeling I had. Wow. So I'm looking at this, I'm like, what is going on here? And then at a certain point, things became bizarre with her.
Yeah, they do.
And that's when I was like, all the how I felt about her in my body, like I was having such a reaction to interacting with her that is not normal for me at all. And I never had this with like anybody. I'm like, what is going on here? And then suddenly I remembered also that I have a friend who was married to somebody with borderline personality disorder. And I happened to be having coffee with him like that same week. And I was like, I think I may relate a little bit more to you now. And so we talked about all the things, and it is that kind of situation where if that's what somebody has and you read about it or you understand the diagnosis, it is such an aha moment. And it makes such sense. And so he has two daughters. They have two daughters together. So like one daughter knows, and for her it was life-saving to understand, hey, this is what's going on with mom, and this is why she acts the way she does with you. It's not about you.
Because it's very intangible, and it's this moving target.
Yes.
It's like...
And you can't hit that target.
No, never.
So to try to hit it is only not going to work out.
It is. Yeah, it's difficult.
See, human psychology, it's fascinating.
It is. I've been on this... I mean, I've always had this... I really have. I've always had a fascination with it.
So do you think that's because of your mom?
I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's always been like this sort of... these very global questions, and I got some of this out of the therapy that I've done. There's a lot of like self-blame and shame that comes from that because you can never hit that target. Mm-hmm. You start to develop this sense of sort of like, I can't, there's something wrong, why can't I do this? It's like this sort of defeatist thing. Now, my mom would point to the fact that my sister and I have both become pretty successful in our respective fields as sort of like I did something right.
What does your sister do?
She's a 3 Michelin star chef.
Shut up! Really?
Yeah.
Where?
Her latest restaurant is downtown here. It's called Yangban. It's in the Arts District right next to Bestia.
I'll have to check it out.
And she's phenomenal. She and my brother-in-law are like celebrated chefs. Like, I'm so fucking proud.
What is her name?
Katie Hong.
Okay.
Last name Hong.
Oh, amazing.
And or
Yeah,
Kat.
so-
She goes by Kat.
So she'll say, look at both of you. I did something right.
Right. And the funny thing is, and my sister's adopted.
Okay.
She's Korean. She's adopted. And getting into the whole like nature nurture of it all, right? My mom would say sort of like, see, I'm the link. It's me.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you guys,
I'm the nurturer for both of you.
And it's like no. We both just got the fuck out and did things our own way once we were able to, and it just can't. We both influenced each other, but it all just kind of came screaming out. So like, I'm gonna do things my way. Like, I know that I'm right in feeling the way that I feel, which is not the way that you feel. So I'm gonna do things that I want to do in the way that I want to do it for me, and that led me to this path, and it led my sister down that path.
Where does your dad come into all this?
That's what I'm trying to figure out lately. That's the sort of tip that I've been on recently. He's, and this is like one of the therapists that I had too, based on my description, which I sort of feel bad. She said that my dad was a narcissist, and I'm like, I really don't think so. My dad is like incredibly humble, and if anything, he's very, very beta to my mom. He's a classic enabler. You know, maybe it's narcissistic of him to think that he can like help fix this person. But I don't think he's not.
I don't think that would be narcissistic. But, and it would also be much more common. I have no idea about your dad.
Yeah.
I don't know him. But it would be much more common for your mom to have chosen somebody who was beta, and for your dad as a beta to be attracted to somebody like your mom.
They've been together since they were 13.
And they're still together.
Technically, yeah.
What do you mean?
They split up. They come back. They split up.
Okay. But they like live together.
Yeah.
And are you open with your dad about it?
Oh, very. Oh, very, very, very. Yeah. It's funny. My mom thinks that she's keeping this all very close to the vest, and that like, you know, people can't tell, and it's like you're not fooling anybody. Like,
well, the thing about somebody with borderline also is that they can be very
effervescent
and draw people into them. That is one of the characteristics.
Oh yeah, when she's on, she's great,
and people love her.
Totally.
So it is very confusing.
Yeah. Because
of that element. So now you're trying to make sense of what role your dad played, or what? What about your dad?
Well, so my mom's behavior has started to affect my kids, and that's where I drew the line. Like, she was out here for a visit, and it went horribly wrong.
What did she do?
She basically she burst into my kids' room and like screamed at them on the last night that she was there, that they weren't giving her enough attention and love. That
tracks.
And they were both like, what the, they're 8 and 6.
Yeah.
And they were both like, what the fuck? Like, they were stunned.
And they probably believed what she was saying.
No, they were very confused. I don't think so, because
okay.
they're like, we've been spending like every moment with her, like, because she puts this pressure on everyone to make the experience exactly what she needs it to be at all times. And if you deviate from that at all, then, somehow, and then it kicks into her self-consciousness, sort of like, she thought my wife and I were like conspiring against her to not let her meet my wife's friend and the new baby when they came over. And sort of like, no, they just want to be outside.
Yeah.
It's like, we said, like, come outside. But the fact that we didn't like beg her to come outside.
That's how she perceived it.
Right. It's all these perceived slights.
Right.
And so when Damon didn't want to read a book, and when Conrad like didn't want to give her another kiss, it was this giant blow up. And then she basically accused them of being like horrible kids.
Yes.
Told my wife that she's a horrible host. Said that I've done a terrible job raising my kids in regards to her, were her words. And I was like, you can't raise your kids in regards to another human being. I raise my kids in regards to the whole world, not you. Like, how do I raise my kids in regards to you? What would you have me do?
Right. But that doesn't compute for her at all.
No, and she doesn't get it. So she's still waiting for me to apologize.
Yeah.
This was like 2 months ago. I told my dad, I'm like, that's the last straw. She could treat me like that. She could treat my sister like that. But once she starts aiming that at my kids, I have a responsibility. Like, I'm not gonna do that. And my dad is in this pickle of sort of like, the only time my mom is quote unquote happy is when she's around the kids. But I'm like, that's not my job.
It's not.
That's not my job. It's not their
And they're
job.
not, right. They're not responsible for her
No.
feeling good.
Yeah. You can't.
Especially at the expense of their own
right.
mental health.
And so my dad, I can tell, is partially, you know, he loves my mom. Partially he loves us. He wants everyone to sort of be happy. But he's also caught in the crosshairs. And I know the only reprieve he gets from my mom is when they're visiting us and she's like focused on the kids instead of not just like barking at him the entire time. So part of it, he's sort of like, I just want everything. And I'm like, Dad, this is like, I've said this is like classic enabling kind of stuff. You can't ask me. You know, he keeps saying it's like I know you don't owe her apology, but like I still hope that we can sort of find some kind of reconciliation. I'm like, this is the 1,000th time. Like at a certain point, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 1,000 times, I'm sorry. It's like shame on me. It's like I can't keep inviting it back in. And my dad is finally starting to get that. And I don't know. It's not my responsibility to really help him either, but like I want to. Like my instinct is sort of like, Katie and I tried to get you to see the light when we were 17. We were begging for them to get divorced. Begging. We were the only kids on the block. They're sort of like, we wished our parents would split up.
Right. It's so, I am intrigued by how healthy you are.
Yeah, that's what every shrink that I've gone to has been like, holy shit.
It's very unusual.
Yeah. I think because I sort of, like, when I left.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
But there are, like, I remember studying a lot of this when I was first starting out. So I remember, like, this thing on resiliency. Like, some kids have resiliency, and, like, it's hard to know why or where it comes from. But I feel like maybe you just have, it is very.
My sister and I just coincidentally.
But the fact that you and your sister also connected, so it sounds like you had each other in a healthy way, that was helpful as well. Like, very. Enormously, especially because your dad wasn't really giving you what you, a healthy foundation either,
or
like
buffer
how to
even was,
right because he has his own issue. So what did you tell the kids after that happened?
I've been very careful to like not try to influence their relationship with her. I've said like look, you know, and they don't I'm like, look, grandma basically has she has some mental disabilities that make her like very, very angry and very self-conscious, and she didn't really mean, like, she obviously loves the hell out of you guys, so she didn't mean to do that, but she loses control. She's sort of like, I'm like, Damon, you remember when you were little, you used to have tantrums and you would just sort of be like on the ground pounding the earth? And he's like, yeah. He's like, it's sort of like an adult tantrum, and she can't control it, and she'll eventually feel really bad about it, but there's love there, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, Grandma and I might not get along, but it's totally okay for you guys to get along, you know, and that's okay. And you guys did nothing wrong. This literally has nothing to do with you. This has everything to do with Grandma and her thing. And they're like, oh, okay. And then she sent like a box of cookies, and she sent a letter, like a handwritten letter to my 5-year-old who can't read. And I was like, okay, clearly this is meant for me to read to him. And it was like, it wasn't an apology as much as an explanation of, like, a defense. Yes. Yeah. There was never the word sort of like, I'm so sorry. It was just sort of like, I got upset because I love you so much and I wasn't getting what I needed. And I'm like, it was just like laughable. It is kind of miraculous that you. Yeah. That's what my wife says too. It really is. Yeah. Well, I smoke a lot of weed. That's not what's doing it, though. I'm telling you, it's beyond that. Yeah. So there's some, you learned it somewhere. Yeah, I know. I self-taught, really. But the wildest thing is really that it's never going to change, and it is interesting how, because when you think about it, you're now playing your dad's role with your kids. Right. So you have to think about, well, how do I wish he did it with me? And it's just like, mine is like just a complete remove. Like I told my dad, it's sort of like, she can't come here anymore. You can't do that. They were here for like a visit since, and they were like, oh, can we take the boys to dinner? I'm like, I'm not going to go, but maybe Elspeth will go and chaperone. And Elspeth was like, I'll do that. And my mom was like, I don't need a supervisor. I was like, yes, you do. And it's like, that's, you can play ball or not, but that's all I can offer. It's really something else. Yeah. All right, let's define these things. Yes, please. So I brought them up so that I'm not misinforming anybody. So first we'll go to narcissistic personality disorder. All right.
Do you like my new logo, my slogan? Tell me everything from the beginning.
And here I go.
All right. Narcissistic personality disorder is a mental health condition in which people have an unreasonably high sense of their own importance. They need and seek too much attention and want people to admire them. People with this disorder may lack the ability to understand or care about the feelings of others. But behind this mask of extreme confidence, they are not sure of their self-worth and are easily upset by the slightest criticism.
Mm-hmm.
So that, again, is narcissistic personality disorder. And then we also talk about borderline personality disorder. So let's define that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. According to the Mayo Clinic, borderline personality disorder is a mental health disorder that impacts the way you think and feel about yourself and others, causing problems functioning in everyday life. It includes self-image issues, difficulty managing emotions and behavior, and a pattern of unstable relationships. So there's more to it than that. I'll just read a little more. With borderline personality disorder, you have an intense fear of abandonment and instability. And that's the driving force that is very hard to even see, but that's really what's behind a lot of it. Okay. And you may have difficulty tolerating being alone, yet inappropriate anger, impulsiveness, and frequent mood swings may push others away, even though you want to have loving and lasting relationships. It usually begins by early childhood and gets worse in young adulthood and may gradually get better with age. If you have it, don't get discouraged. Okay, yada, yada, yada. But, yeah. A pattern of unstable, intense relationships, like idealizing somebody one moment, which she kind of did with me, and then suddenly believing the person doesn't care enough or is cruel, which she did to me. So she basically was like, put me on a pedestal,
And
which
then
is
vilified you.
and then vilified me.
Yeah.
Everything that was true was she spun it in a completely like, it was so bizarre that, and I'm like, she believes this.
Right.
So about the cult leader, that was the question you had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the cult leader believes his or her stuff, but I certainly think that the person with borderline personality disorder does believe the things that they're saying.
Yeah.
They believe that 100%. Whatever it is that they're accusing you of or they feel victim of, they totally feel like that is their truth, but not the cult leader.
Yeah.
I'm Kara. Thanks again for watching. If you want to watch my bigger talks with Reid, just click on the links in the description below. If you have questions about any of the mental health topics we talked about today, you can drop me an email. I put that in the description as well. If you like this talk, please share it, give it a thumbs up, and remember to subscribe for more really candid talks with your favorite celebrities. I'm Kara. Thanks for watching.